when we landed in New Orleans, it was really surreal. It was almost like a movie because everyone was leaving and we were going in. We were the only ones on the plane. We were the only ones going in.
You said it wasn't your first, but it was clearly somewhat early in your post-baseball career that you found yourself standing in New Orleans, right? Was it?
Well, no.
20 years ago, how far in were you?
Oh, I was over 10 years in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I had done, you know, I started in Orlando, so I did a number of hurricanes in Orlando. And then I moved up to Cincinnati for 9 years and didn't have any, you know, like live in the field hurricane experience, but I'd had plenty in Orlando from hurricanes all the way through, you know, a number of tropical storms. But, you know, I got to Dallas in June of 2005, and, you know, August of 2005, here comes Hurricane Katrina, you know, and at one point it was the strongest hurricane in the Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah. Were you the chief meteorologist when you came here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, actually, Troy Dungan and I kind of shared that role when I got here, but yeah, I was brought here to do that.
Okay. I just wondered how you got kicked out and said, okay, you're the guy, go. You
well,
know,
which
you don't have to do anymore.
I was the young new guy way back then, so you know, so there was a time in my career that any tropical system, hurricane or tropical storm that made landfall anywhere from Louisiana, you know, along the Texas coast, I was standing in it, and Katrina was the beginning of all of that.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So working here, obviously, with being here just a few months, it was the first one you were standing in for WFAA.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Okay. You've been doing this for a while, but what sticks with you about? And I don't know how long you were there. Were you there a handful of days? Longer than that?
I think over a week. It might have been 9 days.
Okay. Okay. We've both done multiple hurricanes since then, but what sticks with you about that experience, other than just the grind of doing the work? What you saw?
You know, the one thing that I'll never forget about Katrina is leaving Dallas, Love Field, and there was a group of WFAA employees, and we all flew over on Southwest. And the only people on that flight, that Southwest flight from Love going into Louis Armstrong, were WFAA employees. TV people, you know, you know, reporters, me, producers, camera guys. It was just us. And when we landed in New Orleans, the day before Katrina made landfall, when we landed in New Orleans, it was really surreal. It was almost like a movie because everyone was leaving and we were going in. We were the only ones on the plane. We were the only ones going in. And then when we got into the terminal and we were walking around as we were going to the rental car place, it was like this surreal movie that, like, we're doing something backwards. Why are we going into this situation? And then as we, you know, we leave the airport and we're going to drive to the Superdome, that was the surreal feeling just continued. It was like we shouldn't be going into danger because, you know, they're prepping for this thing to make landfall. At one point, you know, it was going to hit New Orleans, and then of course it shifted off to the east a little bit more. But it was a really strange, surreal feeling flying into New Orleans, walking through that airport, and then driving through, you know, New Orleans, the city itself.
Yeah, yeah. I've done that since, and you don't feel like the smartest person in the room when you're like, should we really be doing this?
Yeah.
Have you field reported like that since in the 20 years that you've been here?
Yes, but not, I've done that, I've reported on hurricanes since Katrina, but certainly not one that had the impact that Katrina had.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, after that was the beginning of probably 15 years of every hurricane on the Texas-Louisiana coast. I was out there in the middle of it.
Rita, Allison, and then the ones.
All of the above.
I landed in Houston the year before Hurricane Ike, so I've had that fun. So and you said Andrew was your first?
Yes.
I was working in Chattanooga, and we ended up down there. We're doing like ABC News 1 type stuff.
Yeah.
So that one I remember well.
Yeah. Some of them you don't forget. Some of them become a blur.
Yeah.
But Katrina definitely, you know, stuck with me. And things were starting to get so bad in New Orleans. You know, that day that we landed, the night before it made landfall, they decided that it could potentially be pretty dangerous in the Superdome. So we left a WFAA crew there, and I can't remember if it was Jim Douglas or Brad Watson. We left them there in New Orleans, and then they sent me over to Baton Rouge.
Okay.
Because again, the track at that point looked like it was New Orleans, so they wanted me on the west side of the landfalling hurricane because they wanted to ensure that we could get our signal out and be on TV.
Yeah, I assume it was a SAT truck, or you were working out of the Baton Rouge. WWL has always had
We
like
had
an
we had
emergency
we had a
station
SAT truck there.
out of Baton Rouge.
Yeah, our SAT truck was. They moved that over to Baton Rouge. We set up at the Louisiana Department of Homeland Security, and spent a week there. But driving across the bridges, leaving New Orleans to head over to Baton Rouge, that was a bit scary because at that point the wind had picked up, the water was splashing up on the road, on the interstate, and it was a little unnerving. It's like, man, let's just, and you know how those bridges, they go on forever. Let's just get off these bridges and just get onto some, some solid ground.
Are you okay now that you're mostly inside? not going to places like that? I referred to myself as a human windsock, trying to explain to people what I do.
Yeah.
So you're probably okay with that?
I'm okay with that now, but I did get one heck of an education in being able, with my anemometer in hand, being able to very accurately estimate wind speeds. Because most people always overestimate it, but that was one positive thing that came out of all those years of standing in hurricanes, was being a good anemometer.
I can do this. Yeah. So did it change anything for you in wanting to be out there, wanting to cover weather? I mean, given that you saw the bad stuff too?
It didn't change anything for me other than it really reinforced. I've never been a meteorologist that just thrives on tornadoes or hurricanes, because I've seen how bad it can be and how impactful, how hurtful it can be for people. Yeah. Whether it's you get hurt, you get killed, or all of your stuff just gets destroyed. That really, sincerely, it really bothers me when I'm out and I see tornado damage or hurricane damage. It's like, it's somebody's life. So I've never been a meteorologist that thrives on, man, I can't wait for this hurricane or these tornadoes. It really, I wish it was sunny and 72 every day with a gentle rain at night. Yeah. So the only thing that it did to me was reinforce my dislike of these really bad storms.